Hey, everybody, and we are so excited to be here. This is Bea Williams with Ben Kinney Companies, and I have got the world famous Bob Stewart with me. And today, this is like such a weird day for me, Bob, because never, Hattie and I realized we've done over 45 of these webinars, and I haven't added up, but that's easily over 100,000 views, 150,000 views. I don't know yet. But we'll have to add that up, Patty. That would be kind of fun to know. But we have enjoyed thoroughly serving our agents over the last year. These started during COVID as a way to get our agents and our brokerages into production. And then they pivoted. See what I did there? They pivoted to the Pivot Shift Ahead group. You know, I just a shout out to James Shaw and April Murphy and Jay Papazan for creating this amazing online community. Really kudos to you guys. So what happened is one day I realized I had a deep burning desire to teach you kind of my one of the topics that I teach on a lot, because I've just made so much income and I've helped other agents make so much income on it, and that's open houses. And you know, we have a lot of other people come on here and do open houses, but what's different about today is that I'm my own guest. We've never done this before on the webinar. We've never done this before. So I thought, okay, two things. I thought, A, you don't need to stare at me for an hour. And B, Bob comes at this from a really cool tech. And so, Bob, I was hoping you could kind of introduce yourself and explain, you know, what we're doing. So this is a little different. So I'm kind of going to do a presentation today. And Bob's going to do it right alongside Bob. And Bob's going to kind of pepper in and pay particular attention to the tech component. But Bob, would you introduce yourself and let everyone know a little bit about you?
Yeah, so my name is Bob Stewart. I work inside of the Ben Kinney world. I've been working with Ben for the last 6 years, and my primary roles here, I train Ben's sales team on their leverage and utilization of the tech that we have in our world. So we've got about 52 sales teams running across the United States, and I meet with all of those teams once a month to make sure they're leveraging the tools that we provide for them. And then my other role would be in our Brivity software world. I help kind of guide the software product team over there. So I've been in real estate for 20 years. I've worked inside of Zillow and Trulia and Market Leader. Was one of the co-founders of Active Rain. We had our own brokerage way back when, and we're one of the first people to take an IDX feed from the Northwest MLS here in Washington State. So I've been working in and around internet leads, open house leads, converting leads for a long time, and get the pleasure of interacting with you and Ben and some of the smartest minds in real estate kind of every day. So I'm here to be your tech sidekick as you. Well, I've heard your open house thing before. It's not the first time. I've actually heard it a number of times. I've stolen some of the things you guys do and passed them on to plenty of others.
Yeah, we actually did it together.
Yeah.
You know, for just a little shout out, Bob is on Ben Kinney's Win, Make, Give podcast, and it's really, really fantastic. And Bob, you know, you're training and masterminding with agents multiple times a week. So we're both similar in the sense that over time, when you're just constantly learning and interviewing and talking with agents, you do learn a thing or two. You know, You learn a thing or two, especially because we're just privileged to be talking to the best in class, right? With whatever topic we're talking about. So I'm going to go into my slide deck, and it just feels weird. I present all the time. I teach all the time. And for all of my regulars, like, it is flat out weird that I'm not like interviewing a guest. Like, it almost feels uncomfortable. I am so used to being the person that's like interviewing someone else. So Bob, feel free to jump in, you know, with all of your knowledge and anything you hear. Otherwise,
and you know, I have a big mouth, Bea, and I can't keep it shut, so I'll do my best.
That about you. So, like, so awesome. It's so awesome. So this is this class, or this slide deck, I should say, this whole concept started when I started my team in it's more like 2014, 2015. So I've been a year or two into my team, Bob, and what happened is I had made really the foundation of my teams with open houses, right? I had done a ton of open houses, and I started learning that I was asking agents to come substitute, or you know, I was just pulling so many listings in that I couldn't possibly do 5 open houses in a weekend. So I got to a point where me and my team members were all doing open houses, and we still had houses that had to be held open. So I would start getting substitute agents and, agents from our office and whatever. And frankly, they weren't presenting us in the best light, and we got fired from the listing. True story. We had an agent who showed up really late and just did a really sloppy open house. And I worked so hard to get that listing, so hard. It was an expired listing. And I worked so hard, and that was, devastating. I mean, it's really horrible to get fired by a client, but that's what happened. So I sat down with someone, her name's Lacey Paulo at Team Builder, which is one of our biggest teams in our network. And we created this class because she was running new construction builder stuff. She was running sites, and she was constantly bringing agents in. And we required and still require agents to take this class in order to come do an open house for us. In the process, I started understanding and realizing that sometimes we're not aware of what we do. I started realizing that what I did wasn't what everyone else did, because I couldn't understand why they weren't getting the same results as me. And so I changed the class and started tweaking it to how to get more business from open houses. So we're going to cover some very foundational things that a lot of you seasoned agents are going to go, what are you, Via, you're talking to us about signs, really? But yeah, we're going to be very foundational today. And most importantly, I'm going to go into the mindset and the techniques and how I get really great results from open houses. So that's the background.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So my first question, Bob, is, what is the goal of an open house? And let me preface it before you answer.
Okay.
Let me preface it by saying this. Most of the time, actually, let's ask everybody in chat. What do you guys think the goal of an open house is? Because most of the time, let's see what we get. Let's see what people type in. Well,
sell the house.
Sell that house. Okay, yep. People are saying lead generate, get buyers, create relationships.
Appointments.
Leads. Okay. Most people get leads. Most people in the past, I've taught this a lot. Some of my agents are answering. I can tell some of my agents are answering correctly. Because I'm like, but I just literally taught you yesterday. So most of the time, Bob, what an agent will say is it's to get leads, to build rapport, to get contact information, obviously to sell the house. Yes, for sure. But beyond that, it's typically like, how was your open house this weekend? It was great. We had 12 people through, Bob, and 7 of them I really bonded with. They shared their contact information. It was awesome. I'm going to follow up with everybody today maybe being a Monday, right? That would be most people's definition of a successful open house. Would you agree? I mean, you and I know what I'm going to teach, but wouldn't you agree that's what most
Yeah, I mean, I think if you went to an open house and you had a good flow of people through there and you got some leads out of it, I think, most people would think that was pretty good. Yeah. Exactly.
So in this order, the definition obviously is to sell the house. Duh. Yes, we all know we need to put it down. The number 2, and this is where you could literally turn the webinar off in 2 minutes. Okay. Once I say number 2, you can walk away. Don't walk away, but you can walk away, because the mindset walking into really the secondary goal, which is really your primary goal, is to make an appointment that same day. You see, most of you guys walk in and it's number 4. Most of you walk in and you say, all right, the outcome I want is to build rapport with a bunch of people, right? And get their contact information and get permission to stay in touch. And listen, there is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with building rapport, getting contact information and staying in touch, right? But I want you guys to change your mindset right here and right now. You need to walk in that door and you need to say to yourself, my one thing is to make anywhere from 1 to 2 or 3 appointments from this open house, ideally today. Those appointments can be to sell the house. That's fine. But it can also be to sell another house, to go walk through their house, to potentially list it. It can be to do a buyer consult. It doesn't matter. Your outcome that you seek, if you are taking time away from your family and friends, guys, if you're doing an open house, is to get an appointment. And I know that sounds really obvious, but most people don't have that definition of a lead. You see, my definition of a lead from an open house is someone that I have set an appointment with, and ideally, Bob, the delta between setting the appointment and going on the appointment is very, very short. So what I found is that if you make an appointment that same day, you have a higher likelihood of them showing up than if you say make it for the next day or that next week, right? So that's the fundamental foundation of how I walk into an open house. Is I walk in with an absolute expectation that I'm going to set an appointment or two that same day. Second, plan B, by the way, is to get their contact information and build rapport. It happens, right? So there's 7 components of a successful open house: researching the property, having amazing setup, walking through a critical path of sales, which a lot of you probably just don't have. You probably don't understand your sales path. That's really important. Client communication, we're going to go through some red flag questions, especially those of you who are watching this who are rainmakers and have other agents doing open houses for you, or you who want to get more open house opportunities from senior agents because they are hard to get right now. We're in a tight inventory environment. I'm going to teach you how to get more business, so to speak, how to get more open house opportunities. Traffic reports and etiquette. Last one is safety. You can't do this without safety. So Bob, we're not going to spend too much time on this, but all I'm going to say about property research, guys, is that I don't want you to walk in cold without knowing anything about the house, right? You lose credibility. You lose credibility to everyone in there. You don't need to know everything about the house, but you need to know enough to come out of the gate sounding somewhat smart and like a credible professional, right? That somebody's going to use and hire. You need to know how long has it been on the market? Has it had a price? You can tell this is old price reduction. That's funny. You know what you need to know now is how many offers are on the table. That's what you need to know now. God.
My wife and I have been looking around Seattle here, really over the last 3 years since we moved here, to try to get a little closer into the city. We live in Kenmore right now, and we've been to a bunch of open houses. And there's a marked difference between an agent I can tell works that area, knows that area, is probably the listing agent, and like an agent that just showed up that day. Like, my wife is super inquisitive. What school is this? And she's always asking these questions. And a lot of times it's real easy to ascertain, like, this person knows nothing about this area. Like, they don't even know what schools my kids are going to go to in this area. And it does leave this kind of like, yeah, okay.
I have a question for you, Bob. Do you want to meet after this Zoom and schedule a time for me and you and your wife to talk about your home search? Actually, I'm not kidding. I'm going to totally hound you now. But, yeah, exactly. Look, you hit the nail on the head. You want to know what elementary school, right? You want to know what middle school. You want to know what high school. That's a really, really good example. You always want to go do a site visit. So you always want to go see the house in person, do a walkthrough. If there's any comps, at least drive by them. What I always tell my agents is you want to know sort of like, what's the park's name around the corner? Because it's those little things that give you away. It's like, if you drove by a comparable and it's across the road from a really big neighborhood park, and you're sort of dog-eared around 2 corners from that, right? If you're at the open house, what you want to say is it's around the corner. It's on the other edge of Homestead Park. So it's on the east side of Homestead Park, to just give you a visual. Now, if I say that, Bob, to you versus, oh, it's just a couple streets down.
Yeah, I'd know. You would be a fraud if you were like you're not a fraud if you're saying, hey, it's around the corner. Homestead Park's right there. It's going to be right across the street. There's a little creek it backs up to. Yeah, exactly.
The other thing you want to do is talk to the listing agent or the assistant. A lot of these houses, let's say they're on ravines or they back to open space. You can anticipate, which is a key word. I use the word anticipate a lot. You can anticipate some of the questions are going to be lot line questions. Like, oh, there's a creek over there. Does the lot go over the creek, or is it up to the creek? Where, sometimes we have that they're just obvious questions that are going to come up. If it's a condo, one of the first things someone's going to ask is like, what's the dog policy? What's the pet policy? And like, how many parking spaces? There's just very basic things that you can anticipate people are going to ask about. The other thing I always like to do is learn about the builder. If it's new construction, try to get the builder story. Who are these guys? It's really important, you guys. People want to know who this guy is. Even a a really quick elevator description. You need to understand, somewhat who built this house if it's new construction. And then lastly, Bob, what I like to do is I like to talk to the listing agent, or if I am the listing agent, that's fine. What are the big objections, challenges? What are the questions that you're getting on this property? They know what people are asking and what people are concerned about, right? So, if there's a big empty lot in front of it, everyone's going to ask what's going to get built there and what the plans are. There's just, you can anticipate certain questions. So when I say do property research, it's that. I don't want you guys to land at a listing flat-footed and not sounding smart and not sounding like you're the experts in your field. Make sense?
Yeah. I'm not going to set an appointment with you after the call if you can't tell me which elementary school is there. You know what I'm saying?
Basics, 100%. What I like to tell everybody, Bob, too, is we want to know enough, but not everything. Why is that? You know the answer to this. Why is that? Why do we not want to quite know everything?
Maybe we have a reason to reach back out to them with an answer.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, exactly. We do want to have some reasons to get back to them. So there's a bit of a fine line. Like, you don't need to be a human encyclopedia about the property, but we do want to know enough to make us sound, not. We want to come off like we know what we're talking about, right? Certainly, like we know the neighborhood, right? So I like to leave some of these questions specific to the house, or, I want to know my community pretty well. I want to know the neighborhood pretty well. All right, signs. So yes, we're going to talk about signs. And yes, there's a little teeny picture of Clorox bleach there because I don't like messy signs, right? They are a messy sign makes you and your business look messy. So be sure that you're budgeting to update these signs that get super banged up over the time, right? You have to kind of top grade your A-board signage and your open house signage, but there is a lot of research behind it. So we're going to touch on two things with signs today. Number one, the more amount of signs you have, the more traffic you will get, period, end of story. My standard on my team is 10 signs. Most people do open houses with 4 or 5 signs, Bob. That's just standard. It's 4 or 5 standard. Sorry, I can't talk. 4 or 5 signs. And it has to be a minimum of 10. Overwhelming research that shows that we get way more traffic that way. Number two, you guys ever noticed how apartment communities, when they're doing lease ups, you see a ton of balloons everywhere? You ever notice that on their signs? You see a whole bunch of people. There's a lot of research behind that too. So what we call T-toppers, anything that you can top on the top of your A-boards or your open house signs. Right now in Washington, we have these wooden sandwich boards, but in a lot of markets, they have the kind of flappy, I don't know what those are called. What are those called, y'all? The ones that you have, they're like the stakes in the ground. We don't use those here. And they're like, what are they, Bob? Are they metal? Plastic?
I mean, a lot of them are corrugated plastic.
Yeah, corrugated plastic. Whatever you can do to put a topper on those. Research shows that the consumers don't always trust just a sign, because there's so many signs, are overwhelmed with, like, every deli in town has some kind of a sandwich board up and whatever, that they tune out to that and they don't trust there's an actual event happening unless there's some kind of a T-topper and or balloons. So T-topper examples can be new listing, price improvement, view, cold beverages available, hot beverages available. What doesn't matter what it says, it's an indication. I like a lot of ours say open today 1 to 4 p.m. or whatever the time is, right? And we always want to put a bouquet of helium balloons on our signs when we can. I cannot stress this enough. And this sounds like a lot of work to a lot of you. I get it. And what I'm also sharing with you guys, hear me. There's no other industry on the planet where you get to make 6 figures and not work hard. And this is no exception. You have to work hard in real estate. So you go to the grocery store, you go to the party supply store, you go to wherever your garage, if you want to buy a helium tank, and you put in the extra work and you go get a bouquet of balloons every Saturday for your weekend open houses, and you put them up, and you put up at least 10 open house signs, if not more. And the go-getters, you will sign direct signage from the freeway exit all the way to the house if you can. So the farther out you can go in your signage, the more effective you'll be. It is the worst part of real estate, setting up signs and picking signs up, especially if you live in Seattle, Bob, where it's like 4 o'clock in December and it's pouring down rain. It sucks. Like, it's just horrible. It's the worst part of real estate, but if I'm going to be gone from my friends and family on a weekend for 3 hours, I want to get as many people there as possible. And I want to get as many appointments set as possible. Otherwise, I don't want to be there.
You know that my mom did 26 open houses in the month of December in Seattle one year. So I don't feel sorry for anybody.
I bow down to your mom, and we're going to okay, I could go on and on about signs, but it's really important for you to make sure that you guys understand that, right?
Real quick, do you put balloons on all the signs, or you guys just like the ones a little bit closer into the area?
We do in the ones farther out, actually. So we put balloons on the ones, thanks, that's a good question, on the main arterials. And it really shows people feel more comforted knowing that other people are there, that they're not going to necessarily be the only ones there. If they feel like it's an event or something happened, then they're more apt to show up, right? I like, in my climate here at Bob in Seattle, in our climate, and a lot of our northern climates that are kind of gray, I like bright white balloons, and like white and red. I like a pop of color and white. I don't like black. I don't do black signs. I don't do black balloons. Black kind of blends into our atmosphere. But, maybe in Arizona or Texas, black might be the right color, right? I don't know. But I like to have something that pops with color as well, for what it's worth. Yellow's good. Yellow's good too. Yellow just doesn't look good with our branding. Looks like a clown. Looks like McDonald's. So we don't do it. Really quick, Bob. I mean, on time means not on time. So if the open house is at 1, on time means
12:45.
Parking. If it's a vacant house, or if they've pulled out, and if your car is going to showcase their garage wall and make their garage look really great, you can park in the garage. I don't. I park around the corner. I pull up, I drop all my stuff off, and then I go and park around the corner. Because, Bob, I want my guests to have the best space. I don't want to park in the prime spot. I want them to.
Via, I would be judging you hardcore if I pulled up to your open house and you were parked in the best spot, and then I walked in and you were the only one in there. I'd be like, oh, wow, she's important.
It's horrible. Never do that, right? I'm sure your mom did this with all of her open houses. I certainly do. We all show up to that house periodically that has gone stale. And here's the thing. Houses are not exactly going stale right now, but guys, all markets do not last. We will come back to the market where you're going to go up to a house, and it used to be in the day, Bob, there'd be like a phone book, like the phone book delivery would be there, but now it might be like newspapers, or it might be some Amazon packages that have like cobwebs on them or something. These are just the times where we American Beauty it up, and we put it all in the, have you seen that, Bob? The American Beauty?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We throw them in the closet, we take out the broom, and we sweep. This is why we want to get there early. We want to set up, and we want to have a really, really good curb appeal if we can. Interior prep, all lights on, no exceptions. Any fireplaces, as long as it's, weather appropriate, like if it's 90 degrees out and there's no air conditioning, don't put the fireplace on, but then you want the air conditioning on. But any, fireplaces and heated floors on, if that's appropriate. I like to have audio and home theater on. That's just a personal preference. I think it helps showcase it and gives a nice ambiance.
Do you do like Metallica, or is it like a soft,
exactly.
like
How did you know? Oh my gosh, yes. AC/DC and Metallica, a little Iron Maiden in there.
Wow, that is aggressive.
That was a deep cut.
That is aggressive.
It was impressive. I'm not gonna lie, I even impressed myself with that. No, it kind of depends on the target market. This is about them, not me. So if it's appropriate, I might do I like big band and oldies sometimes. I like jazz, soft jazz. I might like classical. It kind of depends where I am and who I think the target market is actually. I think that through. Thanks for asking. No Iron Maiden. I like to keep all interior doors open, right? We want it to be very open. The house is open. It's an open house, right? Okay, now we're going to get into the meat. And this is where I want you guys to really, really pay attention, because this is where we make our money. You ready? This is the critical path of sales. And Bob, I'm going to bring you in this part, and we're going to talk about registration a lot.
Okay.
By the way, you know, COVID it's been a very tough year for everybody. Can we all just take a moment to agree that the one gift it's given us is the gift of open house registrations made easy? I'm just going to say it's like, because it's like the easiest thing in the world to say, we have to have you registered, right? Silver linings, Bob, silver linings. All right. So basically, you know, when someone comes in, we want to immediately bond. I mean, this is a very, very quick process. You need to be on your game and thinking about it. So, you know, Bob's going to walk in, I'm going to go, hey, Bill, how are you? Or whatever. You know, I mean, like, this is very, very quick. Or, you know, if Bob walks in and he's got a, you know, University of Washington hat on, and might say, oh, go Huskies. How are you guys today?
I have a Mariners hat on today, but I'm hiding the fact I'm a Mariners fan because they're the friggin' Mariners. So
where did you get that all black one? That's offline. I want that one. Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah,
it's a good one.
You're gonna get that from me. You're gonna hook me up. Okay. Good. You're like, no, I'm not, but whatever. It's a webinar, it's live. I'm not gonna tell her that in front of you. I want that black one.
John Kinney, you be quiet over there, John Kinney. I know what happened. Go, Via. Sorry.
I know. All right. So Ford, family, occupation, recreation, dreams. You know, that's just a super quick thing, right? If someone walks in with 2 kids, there's their family. I mean, it's very, very quick things. I love this opening line. Hey, Bob, how are you? How's the home search going? What I tend to do is I walk immediately, go, hi, Bob, my name's Via Williams. I'm the listing agent. How's the home search going today? Now, that's sort of a Via, you know, typical line. What Ben's very long and unwieldy opening line is this. I don't use this right away. I use this script. I want to be clear. I do not use it out of the gate. It doesn't flow. This is too much for me to use out of the gate. But Ben's script is, you know, hey, Bob, I find people come to open houses for one of 2 reasons. They have a home to sell or they have a home to buy. Which one are you? We go into that. That absolutely has got to be part of this, you know, this process. It's a little too much for me out of the gate. I like to kind of greet you, get you warmed up to me. You know, hey, welcome. Can I help you guys get your shoes off? Hey, I'm Via. I'm the listing agent. How's your home search going today, Bob? Oh, great. That's good. And then I'm going to lead you right into, discovery, needs analysis. Now, this is all happening, Bob, as we're kind of taking shoes off, putting shoe covers on, you know, getting the kids settled, you know, depends on what's going on. And for me, in my world and all of my people's world, it always boils down to LP Mama. I feel like everything in real estate kind of boils down to LP Mama. This is the ultimate pre-qualification. So this is kind of happening simultaneously, hand in hand, as I'm kind of ushering him through to get registered, which we're gonna kick it over to you in a second here. But Bob, you know LP Mama, right? Certainly you've gone through LP Mama 5,000 times like I have. It's not your training.
Absolutely.
So it's location, price, motivation. Do they have an agent? Are they working with an agent? Which, by the way, I do not always ask. For me, that's for Via, that's an optional question. Mortgage and appointment. Because what is our goal, the open house, Bob? What is the ultimate outcome that we want?
That appointment.
So, you know, sometimes I can go right into the appointment, but then I need to backtrack a little bit and do a little pre-qual, right? And that can happen sometimes, right? So that's what LP Mama is. LP Mama takes many shapes. We can do an entire webinar on LP Mama, and we should. That's a good idea, because there's LP Mama on text, there's LP Mama on email, there's LP Mama face-to-face, there's LP Mama on the phone, there is LP Mama at dinner parties. LP Mama becomes the way you look at, these are the segments of pre-qualifying someone for really anything you're doing in real estate. Do you have anything to add on that, Bob? Because I feel like that's such a big topic.
No, I mean, it deserves its own deep dive into this thing. Yeah. The only thing I would just clarify motivation. A lot of times that's like time frame, right? You're trying to ascertain like how soon or how far out are they going to be doing that thing. Yeah.
Sure. For sure. Motivation is timing. We call it motivation, they call it timing.
Stephanie, if they already have an agent, getting an appointment would be moot if they have a buyer's agency agreement signed with that agent. But if they just tell you they have an agent, they don't have a buyer's agency agreement signed, like that agent hasn't done their job.
If we go through, it's 100%. If we go through pre-qualification and I can end it in an appointment, then it's moot. then they don't have an agent. So the minute if they bring up that they have an agent, there are other fish in the sea for me to go fishing. And if they proactively bring it up, then they probably have an agent, especially if they list them by name, and I move on. That's a quick answer. Okay, Bob, this is where I want your help. So this is what I can explain to you what my team is doing, but I'm not on the back end doing it, right? I have people that are doing this for me. So what I'm being told is happening, and I'd like you to kind of come in and check. And this could be, by the way, I'm hearing this with Command, I'm hearing it with Brivity, I'm hearing it with Commissions Inc. I think all the different CRMs have their own version of this, but there's some kind of QR code component that someone scans and they fill in a digital, registration that goes into, I believe, right into my Brivity CRM that then triggers an auto plan.
Yeah. So this could be done as a QR code. Pre-COVID, we did this with, we'd have an iPad stand just inside the door. We'd have the iPad in the stand, and this form would actually be on the iPad that they can fill out. But basically, you do this, you find, the way Brivity works. The other ones work in a similar way. You find that listing on your website, you do this /open house, you pull it up while you're there. You got there 15 minutes early so you can get this all ready, right? And you basically create this form. It's super easy. You don't even really do anything other than type in a little bit of stuff, right? And it creates this form here that's now on the iPad. Now, some people, especially with the COVID stuff, right, they'll have a QR, like some postcards or something made up with a QR code, and they'll hand that and say, here, shoot that. And then now they're registering just on their own phone. But when they go through and do this registration, we have two different variations of this page, by the way. We've got a shorter version that doesn't have all those other qualifier questions. We're just name, email, and phone number. But I like the larger version. When they fill this out, name, email, phone, the price range they're looking in, how soon are they looking to buy? Are they working with an agent? Do they have a house to sell? And there's that little button. You got to look close at the screen. It says get emailed when similar properties hit the market. And by default, that's checked on. Now, about 15% of people will uncheck that. But the other 85% will fill these questions out. When they hit check in then it fires that lead into your database, right? If we have it set up, like Command could be set up or like Brivity set up, when that lead gets in there, a plan can get applied to that lead automatically in Brivity, right? It just goes right onto that lead. And like our auto plans on open house registrations, the first thing that actually happens on that lead it happens 2 hours later, right? Because if it happened like a website lead 3 minutes later, they'd be walking around the open house with you, and it'd be weird they got a text from you, right? But so our open house plans have this delayed start where we start communicating with the lead down the road. But the other thing, with that little checkbox there that 85% of the people leave checked, when that person gets into the database, it was going to set them up on a listing alert. In this particular case, with this particular house we're looking at on the screen here, it would set them up in Seattle, the city that house is in. And then it would go plus or minus 20% of the listing price. So it'd go down 140,000, up 140,000. Just gives them this bracketed listing alert in Seattle in a range around the house they'd come in, unless they told us their price range. If they said their price range was 700 to 800,000, then they'd get a listing alert in Seattle between 700 and 800,000.
Okay, I want to stop there a minute because I love that so far. So, because we're getting a ton of questions, and don't worry, we're going to cover all of this, okay? So here's what my experience is with Bob. I have what I call a two-stage registration process. So everybody who's been asking a ton of questions on our chat about what happens if they get false information and what are your scripts if they don't want to do it? Okay, look, it's a two-part for V. This is just, I'm teaching you today how I've done it. So the first part is some level of this. We have a great iPad stand. You can mount it on there and lock it on essentially. I got it from a retail store supplier. We do not use those because of COVID. People don't want touch screens, like you said, right? So the first step is to try to say something to the effect of, we need you to register. It's part of our COVID policy with our Northwest Multiple Listing Service. Here it is, right? Whether they say Mickey Mouse or not, we can't control that. I can't control that. So the second part, this is what I want you to hear, is I am in rapport, I'm doing LP Mama. This is all kind of happening simultaneously. And if I've chosen to focus on that person, because by the way, if you have 10 people coming in at a time, in a lot of our open houses are like that right now, you are constantly doing triage. That is when you might want to ask about an agent. This is the time you're doing a quick triage. Who's going to be motivated and who doesn't have an agent most likely, right? And then your assistant or your lender, whoever's helping you do the open house, they're playing host or hostess, and they're kind of helping cycle people through so that you can kind of decide who to focus on. I call it my Superman eyes. I'm like, I'm going to go with you. And so what I do is I'm always looking for a hook or a carrot. And what I mean by that is, remember scroll back, when I said know a lot of things, but don't know everything. So what I'm trying to do is I'm listening really hard. It takes a lot of energy. Listening really, really hard. And I'm trying to find something to get back to them on. And when that happens, I'll say, hey, Bob, you know what? That's a great question. Let me get back to you on that. And I can also help you with that other thing you were talking about. Real quick, I know you register, but what's your email? What's your cell phone? That way they can save face. If they put Mickey Mouse on there, 555-1212, I now have written it down. I have the real contact information. Because what I find more often than not is when they first come in, they don't know me from Adam. They don't know who I am, but they like me once we spend time together. We build rapport. They trust me. They think I'm a good agent. So they're more willing to give me their contact information once we're kind of in rapport. And then I get that secondary swipe at it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have a couple thoughts around that. If you were using one of these tech platforms, I work for Brevity, but you have an app. And so when they register, you can actually pull that thing out and look at it really quick and see what they registered with, right? And if they registered with screw you, I'm not giving my email address at getlost.com, like later on, I might make a joke out of that, right? Hey, I noticed that you guys registered with a fake email address. I don't mind. It's not a big deal. But, I did want to send you this, the market report for this neighborhood. And, maybe if you'd give me the real one. And like you said, later, they might be actually open to giving the real one. Yeah. I see somebody earlier said I have people refuse to register. So I mentioned my mom earlier. She did 26 open houses. And by the way, she did 79 transactions her first calendar year in real estate. 13 of those transactions came from those 26 open houses she did that December, by the way, right? In January and February of that next year. She just doesn't let them in the house. She'll just tell them, I'm sorry, I can't let you in. Our sellers ask that everybody sign in. And she doesn't have any problem turning somebody away. Now, Via, you've met my mom. She's a hard ass, right? Like, she would absolutely.
She is not a hard ass. She's amazing. She's lovely and wonderful. Oh my God.
She is those things as well. But she's very serious about what she does. And part of why she has them register is for that protection for the seller, right? And so she'll just tell them, look, if you're not willing to register, I'm sorry, maybe you could talk with your agent and they could bring you back for a private showing, but you're not going to be able to come into the open house today. And they could just say, okay, fine, and give fake information. I'm sure people do that, right? But she's very firm on that line.
Yeah. So all of these things, the important thing is to get them registered. Guys, we have not had a problem since COVID. We haven't, because I mean it legit. Taking my sales hat off a minute, we need to be able to contact trace. Like, we actually do need them to register. It is part of our MLS. They have to register. It's required, by the way, right? It's required. What I'm trying to explain to you is it through Command or Brevity, whatever CRM you use, the idea is to get them to sign themselves in directly to your CRM. Skip a step, right? Anytime you can automate this, if humans can't keep up with this amount, you need this to be automated, right? We just need it to be automated. Okay, so that was good. Thank you, Bob. I need you for some of this tech stuff, right? Because I know how it works. I don't necessarily know the mechanics, behind it. All right, we're getting into the meat. And here's the meat. When you decide that you're gonna, follow someone along, and again, this is based on some level of pre-qualification, right? LP Mama, are they motivated? Are they qualified? Do they, are they ready to go? And, that's kind of when you want to let the person helping you. And by the way, let me go back. Right now in 2021, we're doing this in spring market of 2021, because I know some of our content's evergreen and it lives on the internet a while. You need to have two of you at least at every open house. It is a zoo in most markets in the metropolitan United States. You're in a major market in the US. I would say, please have somebody there helping do this exact process, and you can get sophisticated with it. But those of you expecting 60, 70 people for your open houses, I've had open houses. I sold this is a fun story for you, Bob, because you're a sports guy. I sold Kevin Durant's house.
Nice.
And we hit.
Wait, on the way out of town? I don't know if it's a fun story. That probably means you sold it because the Sonics left. Like,
I know. Sorry to break. I know. Yeah. He held it. He loved it here so much. It'll break your heart. He actually held it. It was a couple of years after that, right? When was it? 2012 or 13 or 14.
He deserved.
Anyway, as part of that, I did a PR campaign, and we got the front page of the Seattle Times real estate section, and we knew it was going to run. So we knew we were going to have a massive open house that Sunday, right? So I think I had 5 or 6 people at that open house. I had team members, I had some fellow agents, and I had people actually stationed at various aspects of it. We had like a 3-person sign-in process. But my point is anticipate. That's a key word. Anticipate a big, busy open house, and think about having someone kind of playing front of the house, like the hostess in a restaurant, to help with some of this. But you need to figure out who you're going to spend your time with. If there's 70 people, is almost actually a tougher open house in a lot of ways than 10 people. We think we want 70, and there's pros and cons to each, but whoever you decide that you're going to kind of spend time with, you do want to, and on the times you can do a house presentation, pre-plan how you're going to show the house to them. And the other thing I'd like you to do is during your discovery, when you kind of asked them all the questions for LP Mama and you kind of learned what they're looking for in a house, be sure you keep those in mind when you're doing the pre-done presentation. So I do what I like to call micro closes, Bob. So actually, let's see. So you and your wife, so what would be your perfect house right now? Like, let's do real play.
Perfect house would be, oh man, over 3,000 square feet. It'd have 4 bedrooms. It'd be under $1.4 million, and it would be somewhere in the Seattle School District.
Okay, perfect. Got it. So what's important to you in that house, Bob? Is it garage? Are you a shop guy?
No, I don't need any of that stuff. Actually, what's important, I don't like a lot of yard maintenance, so I wouldn't want much yard maintenance. I'd want like the living room, rec room kind of separated from each other. I want to be able to send my boys into the rec room and not have to listen to them beat up on each other. Mm-hmm. Probably want the kids' rooms not too close to the master. Open kitchen with that flows into that other kind of living space. Those would all be important features.
Okay, that's perfect. I can work with that. So if we were walking through a house, what I would say is, I would say, hey Bob, the first thing I want to show you is I want to walk in and show you the great room, because you mentioned to me it was really important that that was an open floor plan and the kitchen went into the great room. But I want to show you a cool feature. You can open this door, and behind the great room is a guest room that would be an amazing playroom. The only way for them to exit would be to come out through the great room, right? So it's, but what a great playroom for your kids. You could set up their Xbox in there and give them their stuff, and you could close this door and kind of have
soundproofed or
we can probably work on that. Okay. We can probably work on that. So then we're going to go through the house, and then I'm going to say, hey Bob, I want to go ahead and walk in front of me so I'm not blocking your sight line, FYI. Go ahead and walk in front of me and look through the window and tell me what you see out there in the yard.
I see a lot of grass, Via. A lot of grass.
You see no yard and a really low maintenance yard? That's awesome. So don't ruin my role play.
Okay, sorry. You could say, yeah, I got a guy. He could easily turn that into
you
could turn that into a patio, no problem.
Yeah, we prepped. Yeah. So, I think what you were describing is what I'm seeing in front of me, right? They even have AstroTurf down there. It's not even real grass, right? It looks real. That's AstroTurf. I know. Isn't that great? And then let's go over here and look, Bob, because the master suite is overlooking that awesome backyard. You can see that great view there. But the kids' rooms, they're way down at the other end of the hall.
Yeah.
So Bob, does that work for you? Does that yard that you're seeing out there work for you, do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that turf.
What about that playroom kind of situation in the great room? Does that work for you?
Yeah, I need those kids to be able to just shut the door and not have to hear them.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
What about the placement of the kids' rooms compared to the master? Does that work?
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
Yeah. It's a lot of yeses, Bob. I just micro close the heck out of you. Right. So we're gonna take Bob's needs, and I want you guys to be aware when you're doing yeah, everyone's like, yeah, Bob, in Seattle, it's like a $3 million home. Okay.
I know, Matt. That's why I
I
haven't bought
want
it
it
yet.
for under 1.4. He's like, embarrassed to say it. Yeah, well, all good. Would a townhome work?
Look, I don't have to live like in Wallingford. I mean, I'll live anywhere in Seattle, for Christ's sake.
I'm kidding. But yeah, we want to do micro closes based on their needs. And that's what we want to be sure that we're listening enough to point those out. Because if we keep saying yes, we're going to kind of walk into, really my script, the script that I'm here to teach you that's going to make you $1 million. I did mention this earlier, really briefly. Agents, do me a favor, open a door and usher people through. What I don't want you to do is open a door, walk in, and be blocking their sight lines into a room. Number one, ladies, this is not safe. It is not safe for you to get blocked in a room like that. But number two, you are not the star of this show, the house is. You want to open the door, usher them in. Okay. I've seen agents literally ruin a money shot. Like when you walk into a room and there's a big portrait window, and it's just beautiful view, and then agents are standing in front of it, arms big, and just
look at this view. It's great. I can't see it, but
I've actually found myself doing it inadvertently before, because you're just kind of in the flow, and so this is more of a reminder, to do it. But once we're kind of at that point, especially if we're able to walk them through, you can use the script, guys, within 3 minutes of them coming in. It could be at any point. But especially if we are able to spend a little bit of time with him, even if I have to send Bob to various areas, I might check in with him and say, hey, Bob, I want you to go look at the house. Start here, okay? Because I'm going to point out there's a great playroom over there. I think that guest room would be a great option for you. And you'll notice the kids' room are separated, and then come back and we'll chat, right? So I'll send Bob to go look at the house, which I often will do. And I'm pretty tuned into Bob if I think that he's a good prospect for me. So I might be meeting and greeting other people. And every once in a while, I'll even say, hey, could you hold on a minute? Bob, what do you think of that yard? You see that yard? Good. You're going to go upstairs? Perfect. All right. And then I'll go back to my person. If I have decided my Superman laser eyes are on you, like, they're not going to let go, even if I'm talking to someone else, right? And then we come into the script, and the script is really long and complicated, as you know, Bob. It's one of those scripts where you might want to like pause this and rewind it, and so that you can write it down word for word, because it's pretty long, pretty detailed, I think. But the minute someone expresses any interest at all, or you just feel that urge to pivot to close, which salespeople just know that instinctually, I think, the minute someone even thinks about expressing interest in the house, especially if you've had the ability to micro close them, what you want to do is you just want to say to them, hey, Bob, would you like to meet with me after this open house to write an offer on this home? So let me tell you that looks in real life. Let's do a real role play. So, boy, do you see that yard, Bob?
Yeah, I like that yard. There's no grass.
Yeah. Have you seen a house like this at 1.3 million with all of the features that you say you want?
No, I haven't. Most of these houses are 2 million, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, do you guys want to meet with me after the open house and head an offer on this home today, right now?
I mean, I'd have to get my wife over here, but this is checking all the boxes,
So if I can get us an appointment on showing time, I need to take my signs down and everything. I end this at 4. If I could get us an appointment at showing time at 4:30, you think you could bring your wife back, and then we can build in some time to talk about, potentially how to structure an offer?
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
All right, cool. Between now and then, do you think you could get a pre-approval letter from your lender?
I already have one.
Okay, perfect. And we're going to go right into that. Now, most people will say no. Most people will say, whoa, that's a little much. Like, I'm not going to write an offer on this home, right? We all know that. I mean, we wish it was that easy. Although, Bob, you remember my story about Isabel, right? You remember that story? Okay,
Yes.
you guys, that actually has happened. My very first agent I hired, this is a true story. I need to call her up because I've been telling her story a lot lately. I need to get reconnected with her. But very first agent I had ever trained to do an open house. This was back in January of 2014. True story. I trained her on the script. She goes, I've never done an open house. I need you to train me. So I said, all right, here's what you do. Anytime you get everyone to register, and anytime someone says anything to you and you don't know what to say, just whatever it is, to every single person, you say, okay, great. Would you like to meet with me after this open house to write an offer on this house? So all of a sudden, she does an open house Saturday and open house Sunday, and I'm visualizing the house. And for those of you in Seattle, it's like right by Microsoft. In 2014, it was going to get multiple offers. It's just one of those. So it had a ton of people at the open house. And she's calling and texting me on Sunday. So I pick up the phone and I say, what's up? Is everything okay? Are you safe? Like, I'm safe, but I don't know what to do. You didn't tell me what to do if I have to write up two different people on the same home. What are you talking about? True story. She's like, well, I asked that question to everybody, and two people want to write an offer. So she had to get someone else. She had to refer someone else in the office to write an offer. And no, she didn't get the house because there were multiple offers and they didn't win. You guys, her first deal was the next month at a $1.2 million listing we had using the script at an open house. No joke, she sold that house. That was her first deal, 1.2 million. And 1.2 million in 2014 is like 1.7 million now. So anyway, that's a true story. What most of the time, what they'll say, Bob, is, I don't know if we're ready for this house. And then what I'm going to roll and pivot right into is, hey, I'll tell you what, I'd love to sit down with you and your wife and spend some time on getting you the right house, right? And making this a fun and a painless experience. And Bob has access to a lot of properties that you don't even see necessarily on the MLS, right? So why don't I put all my signs away and let's figure out a good place to meet at 4:30. We can meet at my office. We can meet at there's a great Starbucks in Kenmore that I know well, and let's sit down together. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm pretty sure I can get my wife over here by 4:30.
Awesome. So then the other option is yeah, or we meet here, right? We be here. The other option is, if Bob had a house to sell, I'd immediately try to get myself into his house to do a walkthrough, and what my script looks like on that is, basically, hey, Bob, what I find people really, really like at this kind of preliminary phase when you're not sure you want to sell, but it's a hot seller's market. Best thing I can do is do a walkthrough of your home. I'll give you a really good pricing analysis. We'll go through home prep stuff, right? I'll give you a thorough list of what you'd have to do and what the ROI would be behind that. And that information you can kind of use as a launching point to discuss next steps with your spouse, right? Because what I know at this point is information is really helpful for people making a decision, and I am happy to do that at no obligation. I mean it. I'll go walk through your house. It's my pleasure to do that, and we'll kind of talk about.
Seriously, Via, can you be at my house like Thursday morning around 10 o'clock? Like, I gotta figure.
Yeah, but that's what it sounds like. And
this is the hardest market. Look, this is a really hard market for buyers. Like those offers of trying to help and guide and like they are worth something. Take it from somebody who's fully real estate emerged and is still like struggling with that transition from the house we live in now to the house we want to live in.
Right.
This is a crazy market.
Yeah, that's right. Really, really quick, Bob. So once we do that is our absolute goal. Our absolute goal is to get a walkthrough of their house if they're a neighbor. And I urge you guys, and again, I don't want to speak to different markets. Like Seattle has a high price point market. So those of our friends that are watching that are in a little bit more lower unit count, higher price point markets, we want these to be very informational. I know some of our colleagues that are watching are in more transactional markets. You're doing 500, 600, 700 deals a year, and your average price, is a little lower. You may not be as inclined to go do a lot of CMA walkthroughs, right? I get that. For me in my market, I've always, if I can get in someone's house, I have a very high conversion rate over time. But some of those CMAs, Bob, they've been a 4-year conversion.
Yeah.
I'm just adding them into my pipe. I know your mom and I have done a webinar together on home valuation leads, and And her and I share the same philosophy: get in their house, get them rapport, and just babysit that relationship till they're going to sell, right? We are the same like that, because I've interviewed her enough to know that. That's how I've always worked, but we're also operating in price points where that makes sense. So I want to be sensitive to the fact that if you're selling condos at 80 to 120,000, you're going to have a different clip here. You're going to be one and done. It's going to be different. What I can teach to is most of our markets at this point, with medians of over 400, 500, which is most areas, many bigger cities in the US are at that point now. It's worth it for us to get in the house. The other thing it does is it gives us off-market property to then go use. They're like, I don't know, if you made it really easy for me, like if I could get 700,000, I'd sell it. Yeah, I'd sell it. And I go, okay, that's what I need. And then I can go call all the 23 people that I just met at the open house that I didn't get an appointment with. I could say, hey, we just sold that house yesterday with multiple offers. This might be a couple of days later, but I've got an off-market property in that neighborhood. They'd be willing to sell. Here's what I found. If it was that easy and we were constantly matchmaking like that, like we wouldn't need an MLS. But Bob, what I found is that gets me clients because they are like, A, she's a hustler. B, she knows what she's doing. She's got access to stuff I don't have access to. And she is of value to me. And then I can get the buyer consult to go from there. Make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, briefly. I don't want to spend too much time on this. If you are an agent here and you're doing an open house for someone else, okay? And then on the flip side, if you're a listing agent or a rainmaker that's watching this and you have agents doing open houses for you, these are the rules. We do not answer red flag questions. What a red flag question is, hey, why isn't my house selling? Hey, am I going to get multiple offers, right? Whatever it is, we want to edify the listing agent that gave us the opportunity to sit at open house. So Bob, if you were the listing agent and I was doing an open house for you and the homeowner came and said, hey, Via, is Bob a good agent? Is Bob going to get me multiple offers? My neighbor's got way more showings. I'm not seeing it. I'm always going to edify Bob, and I'm going to say, Bob's one of the best agents in the market. He's an outstanding agent. I am sure his plan is the right one. Then I'm going to text Bob separately and say, you got to worry about your seller. But I don't want to answer any red flag questions at all. This has happened far too much. We need to honor our colleagues. If we need to edify our colleagues, and we can have private offline conversations. But guys, these are hard fought clients and we need to edify and honor them. Quick note, you are being recorded. 100% chance someone somewhere is recording you with a ring, either outside on the porch, on the deck, or inside the house. So anything you say to anyone on the phone or that you talk to that you think is private, it's not private, especially if it's in a kid's room with a nanny camera. Do you think I've had experience with all of those? Very specific list. All of these things are pretty negative. Really, really briefly, all of our agents are trained to give traffic reports to the listing agent. And then the listing agent at their discretion passes these on to the homeowner. My agents on my team and then the agents in our brokerages that we train to do this, they literally get requests from brokerage, from agents outside of our brokerage to do open houses because they feel so amazing at these traffic reports that they get. So agents, if you want to earn the right to get really great open houses from your really great listing agents in your office or in your market, send them a traffic report after every open house. They will love you. And I don't edit these. I tell my people, you just, if someone comes in and says the house smells funky, you write it down. You're not an editor. You're just gonna keep track of who came through and all of that. We can send the template to this to all of you guys afterwards with the replay. Okay, we'll send the template of that. I'm kind of finishing up really quick. Bob?
Yeah.
I swear to you, I have so many stories. I don't know where to start. All I'm going to say is agents need to dress like this is a job interview because it is.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it at that. This is a mass job interview. This is a job fair. You are trying to get hired. Dress appropriately. And ladies, this is not the time to wear spike heels. They kill hardwood floors. That's just the deal. Okay. Last thing, etiquette. I almost lost a listing because I inadvertently did not lock the back door of a $3 million home. And I had to do a lot of apologizing and backpedaling because of that. And I learned later it was because kids, families with kids at the open house had kind of let it be open, and I wasn't aware of it because I thought, well, I didn't open that door, because sometimes I don't open the doors. It was kind of one of those almost looks like windows, those like French doors that look like windows. And I hadn't opened them, so I didn't think to go check them afterwards, right? So you have to check all the doors and make sure everything's locked up. Really important. Turn off the fireplace, clean up all the messes. You have to really be sure that you're taking care of the house and closing it down appropriately, right? Lastly, this is its own webinar. At least two is better than one right now. At least two is better than one. There's just so many people in there. I'm less worried about safety as I am just keeping track of everybody's things, right? Cell phone strength, my comment on that is I have done some open houses in outerlying areas where I have not had a strong signal. Usually a text can get through. What I usually do is I'll text my husband and I'll say, hey, do me a favor, text me every, whatever predetermined amount of minutes. And if I don't text you back in 5 minutes, here's the address, right? Someone knows where I am, or I'll do that to an assistant. Someone knows where I am, or we figure out some method of communication so that if they don't hear from me by a certain amount of time, they can worry. I am just wired to know what my escape routes are. I'm weird. I wasn't in law enforcement. I don't know where it came from, but I always know what my escape routes are, and I think everyone should. I don't like getting boxed in a room. I don't like going in basements or even upper floors necessarily. So I usually usher people up and in, right? I'm behind them and I'm laying back, so I'm not the one pegged in. And lastly, like I said, just be sure to notify people that you're checking in periodically. You have some kind of a method. Safety, I don't want to pretend that, Bob, that we're the absolute like experts in safety when there are so many people that are experts in safety. So I think that just a quick overview today is good, and we can get, have the offices, have everyone's real estate offices kind of focus more on that. That's it.
Yeah, that was awesome. I love that script. Give me that script one more time. It was super long and really hard to remember, but one more time.
So Bob, do you want to meet after this open house and write an offer on this home?
That's such a powerful. I have a friend that when he does showings, he lets them know as we're going, and he says, hey, I just want you to know that every house we walk into, when we come out, I'm going to ask you if you could see yourself writing an offer on this house. So I don't want you to you say no or say maybe or say yes, but I'm going to ask you every time. Just that ask. I bet most people on here are not making that ask. And it's
the fact of the matter is that's exactly right. And I'm curious, do me a favor, guys. All of you guys, promise me you'll go out on a limb this weekend, out of your comfort zone. For all of you, hundreds of agents watching this who are going to go do an open house. Do me a favor and try this out and let me know how it goes. You can Facebook message me, you can email me, whatever it is. I want you to, there's two takeaways I want you to have before Bob and I sign off. And the number one thing is I want you to walk into that open house and I want your brain to say, my outcome is 1 or 2 appointments. My outcome is I'm gonna go on 1 or 2 appointments. And that means if you blocked time for 1 to 4, what I want you to start saying is, hey, honey bun, I'm gonna be gone 12 to 6. That's my shift, 12 to 6, because I need time to go put out a whole bunch of signs and get balloons. And I got to build in time for 2 appointments afterwards, right? And promise me you'll try that at least once and let me know how it goes. And you do this over time, you guys, 48 appointments. If you're doing 1 to 2 open houses a week, and you're getting 1 appointment for every single one of those, 48 appointments are in your future. That'll change your life. It'll change your life. Most of you, it'll change your life.
Love it. We've got some social validation coming in over here. Shivagni says this script works. I can personally attest to it.
Shivagni was one of my former VA group agents and is an absolute rock star. If any of you guys are in the Bay Area and kind of Burlingame, San Mateo, San Jose, that area. She's your go-to agent, and she has personally used the script many times and crushed it at open houses. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, Bob. It was fun. We should do this again.
My pleasure, Via. Anytime I see you asking, I am there for whatever you need.
Oh, you heard that, Gail. Did you hear that? All right, good. Okay, everybody, thank you. And we will see you next Wednesday. Have a great day.